Hello, my friend. Welcome to Flow with Jess. So, this morning I took myself on a little adventure and I went to this little place called, well, it's not quite little, but this place called the Bins. And I'm not sure if you have something like this where you're from, but we have this Goodwill center. And from my understanding, all of the Goodwills in like southwestern Ontario, when they don't sell items and they're kind of like done with them in their stores, they get shipped to this one center. And then it's like this wild free for all based on weight. And they just like pile things into these gigantic bins. They they wheel them out. There's like very specific rules because people get wild, and you tear through these bins, and you find all of these treasures, a lot of junk, but like a lot of treasures. And so I took myself there this morning because I have this idea that I really wanted to create a new vision board, and it's going to be fun. I don't know what I'm going to do in this room, but we're going to play around with it on this channel. I'm either going to use the wall or the bookshelf behind me, but I'm going to start decorating this area and creating this vision board that I can like visually see through these videos and like you can be a part of. And I'm just really excited to see kind of what comes of it. And I don't know if anyone has seen the price of magazines these days, but like they're like $17. Ridiculous. So I had this idea to go to the Bins because I had been there years ago and I came across this. There was like 10 magazines and it was called Happiness. And it was this like spiritual wellness magazine from the UK. And it was so beautiful because it had like, there was gratitude and beautiful products and beautiful quotes. And it was just like all of the things that you would want in finding pieces for your vision board. So years ago, I found those magazines. I was like, let's go to the Bins, let's see what we can find. Unfortunately, I didn't really have any luck. I found some like food and drink magazines, and there was a ton of like National Geographic and Time magazine, but I was flipping through and I didn't find a lot. But I found a few things, and it's just the start of the kind of collection journey. So we'll see what comes of it. But yeah, it was an interesting experience. I did end up coming home with a couple of items. Oh, I'm so sad, you guys. I'm so sad. I was in like the book and magazine section, and there was just like this pair of jeans in there, and I was like, I think these would fit me. And I was like, we're gonna take these home. And I took them home and I tried them on, and they fit me like a glove. I was like, oh my God. And they were like $1. And I was like, oh my God, these fit so well. And, and I turned to my husband. I'm like, how does the butt look? Because that's the most important thing with jeans, right? How does your booty look? And he goes, oh no. And I'm like, wait, what? And I'm so sad. There was like rips throughout the jean pockets and through the back seam. And I was like, no, like so disappointing. So I found perfect jeans just out of the blue, but I forgot to take a look to see what they looked like in the back. And unfortunately, they didn't work out. So I'm a little bit sad about that, but you win some, you lose some. I found some pretty cool books, and I'm really excited to read. I found some fiction, some nonfiction. I came across an is it I Ching? I Ching. I think it's I Ching. It's something that I've heard about. Oh, and like there's another book that was like accompanying it, sort of, and it was like called Lines of Destiny, and it was all about reading, the different. I'm assuming there's like palm, but there's also face and some other things. And I was like, you know what? I would like that for my bookshelf because I love getting to learn about different aspects of like spirituality and um different lenses in which to view like personality or like karma or like blueprint, however you want to phrase it. There's all these different techniques and lenses that you can look through. And so I was like, I would love to have a little bit of that knowledge. So I picked those up, and I'm really excited to kind of flip through and see a little bit about what it's about. And that was my morning. I saw more crows. If you were here, I think it was 2 days ago, I was saying that I have been there was the one day that I saw so many crows, and I was like, what in the world does this mean? I typically don't see so many, but it was very like in my face, like, oh my goodness, there were so many in my world. And it was interesting because I had noticed. So it was like in my awareness, I was like, wow, there's a lot of crows. And then, of course, what tends to happen is if there is meant to be a message or like a synchronicity when it comes to signs and symbols that you see, typically you'll notice them coming back around. And so yesterday I was listening to a reading on YouTube, and one of the first messages that the woman pulled was the message of the crow, and she was saying it had something to do with transmutation. And I'm not really familiar with that word. Like, I've heard it and I'm like, ooh, transmutation, but I have no idea really what that means. And there was more to that message, but that was just the word that stuck out to me. And I was like, oh, cool. Like, she pulled through the energy of the crow. I had been seeing crows, and yeah, energy of transmutation. I don't really know what that means. I could have Googled it, but I haven't. I'm just kind of living with it and seeing how that fits in my system, or like how I think that that works in my world. Mutation, like I think of a mutation of a gene where there's like a different sequence or a different code, so then it gets expressed differently in your world. So like a transmutation, maybe like the DNA is coding, things are coding in your world, and then all of a sudden there's like a little bit of a mutation in the code. So then the expression along the path ends up looking a little bit different than you think it would. I don't know. We'll see. But I was out today and I saw quite a few crows, and I'm still kind of like, oh, we'll see what this means. I love getting to see, especially the birds. I don't know about you, but it was so interesting how quickly in my life I went from like not paying attention whatsoever to birds being like something that I'm like, oh my God, there's a cardinal, there's a blue jay. Um, and just paying attention. Like, I've been seeing a lot of hawks lately as well. I had this really interesting dream, and somebody was gifting me a hawk feather, and like that felt really special. And I totally looked it up, what it meant, but it's escaping me now. But that's that's part of the interesting thing I find about diving into like the symbolism. And I'm not someone that has like the best memory in the world. Like, I have to be hit with information like time and time again. It doesn't always sink in right away, but it's interesting to me in the moment. You're like, oh yeah, okay, that kind of makes sense. I can see how that is playing out in my world. And then someone will like ask you about it, or you'll try to express it, and you're like, I have I have no data to pull from. But because it just kind of it sticks for a moment, and then it kind of dissipates. And for me anyways, I find that like studying for a test, I usually don't have the information in my mind. Like, I have to keep seeing it. I can't just like cram and hope that all that knowledge and information gets stuck in my brain. Like, it takes a lot of time and energy for it to stick in my mind. So I often feel like when I talk, people are like, she has no idea what she's talking about, because I am sometimes like, oh, here's like little tidbits of what I've picked up, or I don't have all the references, I don't have all the knowledge, but here's like little tidbits of information that have made its way into my world and that I can remember. Give me like 10 years and there's going to be more to pull from, but it's going to take a little bit of time. I need to experience it. It's one of the reasons that it can feel so challenging to, I don't even like saying like be an expert, but that language of saying that you are like an authority in a subject or an authority on a subject, or did I just say the same thing twice? Yeah, I did. It can be hard to come online or to speak to people and express your opinions and views because you have to feel so sure that your perspective is valid. And in your world, it is. But it's easy to compare yourself with other people and say, like, I don't have as much experience as them, or I haven't lived in 28 different countries. So what do I know? And it can be scary to just say, you know what, like I am here in this moment. I've had the life experience that I've had. I've had the call to put my voice out there. I've had my call to express myself in the way that I can. And I'm learning and growing on this path every single day. But there does get to be a point where you can't consume without producing. And there is so much knowledge and experience that has been, amalgamated in your life that wants to just like come through and be expressed and be listened to. And that's why we're here. That's why so many people on this platform are here. They just have had that call to express themselves. And my hope is that I have enough self awareness to know that this is a privilege, and I want to make sure that I am, showing up with the best possible version of myself. And I say the best possible version, but I mean in a very authentic way and in a truthful way. And I don't want to pretend that I am something that I'm not. And I'm certainly going to make mistakes. I'm certainly not going to have the right language all of the time. I'm not going to have all of my thoughts figured out because I certainly don't know anything. I've just had the experience on this planet that I have. And honestly, like I feel like stardust most of the time. I've always felt like I don't belong. I've always felt like I have not been able to find my footing on this planet. I'm always longing for dreams and spirit and all of these very etheric things that are not very practical in this world. And even though I'm super interested in the material side of things, like, I like everything shiny. I really love looking at houses with beautiful countertops and beautiful bedding, and I love having plants around. And there's so many things about this reality, this material world, that I'm like, oh yeah, like of course I would love the best of the best. I like fashion. I want nice clothes. I want my hair to be done pretty, and that all speaks to me. But there's also this element of myself that I'm a little spacey. I'm a little in the dream time, um and that's okay. I'm just here to, I think, blend those two sides of me and hope that just by being me is enough, and the person that I hope that I am being embodying is what the world needs. And that's my story for today, friends. I hope you're all well. Thank you for joining me. if you made it this far. I hope you have a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful rest of your day, and I look forward to seeing you soon.